Hi you guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Patience. To my existing subscribers, welcome back. If this is your first time here, be sure to click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can continue to indulge in the Hot Bella experience. In today's video, I am trying out some new PatMcGrath Labs products, and I'm super glad to have these. I have not yet purchased the PatMcGrath foundation. As I mentioned before, the reason why I have not purchased that foundation yet is because I have other foundations that I'm still trying to work my way through. So I'm trying to be smart. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to purchase it, but I just have not purchased it as of yet. But I did purchase a few other items, and one of the items that I purchased is the PatMcGrath Labs Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze Palette. Now, I was just perusing through my Instagram feeds as I normally do, and I saw a little Instagram ad pop up where PatMcGrath was offering this palette at 50% off. So I thought, why not? So originally this palette would cost $65, but with my 50% off, I got it for $35. So I thought that that was a really good deal. And I created this eye look using this palette today. This is a gorgeous palette, typical PatMcGrath type of eyeshadow palette, you guys. There are 6 pans in this palette. This is one of the smaller palettes. PatMcGrath Labs also has the full-size palettes as well, but this is one of the smaller palettes, and there are 6 shades as I mentioned. However, in this palette there is only one matte shade. So in the demo portion of this video, you guys will see how I use this one matte shade as my transition shade and then deepened it up to use it as my crease shade as well. But this is a gorgeous cool tone palette. I love the way this look turned out. So yeah, this is the PatMcGrath Labs Subliminal Platinum Bronze Palette. I'm also going to be trying out the new concealer from PatMcGrath, and this is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer Corrector. So this is what the packaging looks like, and I picked this up in the shade M20. When I first purchased this concealer, I selected shade M24, so that's medium 24. You guys, it was so dark. I was like, what was I thinking? But it can be really hard or a little bit of a challenge sometime to get your correct shade match when you're trying to do it online. That can be a little bit challenging. So I had to return the M24, and I took another shot at it and purchased this M20, and I think that this turned out really, really pretty. I like how this is looking up under my eyes. It's not too bright, but it is giving some brightening effect, so I really, really like that. I love the coverage of this concealer. I love the coverage and the finish of this concealer. So yeah, you guys are going to see this in the demo portion of this video. I also picked up the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. This product piqued my interest right off the bat because this product calls out specifically that it is for the under eye area. I really like that, and I love the finish of this powder, and it just melts into the skin. It is so gorgeous. Love this powder. You guys will see this in the demo portion of this video as well. I also picked up the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Setting Powder. This is what the packaging of this product looks like. Everything from PatMcGrath is always so classy, just bougie. But yeah, picked up the powder. This powder is in medium 3. This is what the packaging of this powder looks like. So this setting powder is really nice. I like this quite a bit, and I was quite surprised, as you guys will see in the demo portion of this video. I was surprised because I thought just by looking at the shade of this powder in the container, I was like, okay, here we go again. I'm going to have to send this back and reorder again because it's going to be the wrong shade. But I think that it is absolutely gorgeous, and the formulation of this powder gives me the same pleasure as the under eye powder did, meaning that it just melts right into the skin. It is beautiful. And I'm using this powder on top of the MAC Face and Body Foundation, and I airbrushed this particular foundation on and then set it with this powder, and it is looking really pretty. So if you guys would like to see how I created this look, then keep watching. My face has been moisturized and primed. I used the Touch in Sol Pretty Filter Glassy Skin Balm, and I used that to prep my face. I also prepped my eyes using the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow base. And I'm going to use this shade right here. This shade is called Sextrovert, and I'm going to use this as my brow bone highlight. And the next shade that I'm going to use is this shade right here. This is called Deep Velvet. And I'm going to use this shade as my transition shade and also as my crease shade. I'll even these out just a little bit. So I'm just taking my time to make sure that both eyes, the hue or the saturation of this color is the same on both eyes. So just taking my time and blending it out, make sure they're nice and equal. And as I said, I'm going to use the same shade. This shade is called Deep Velvet, and I'm going to put this on the outer V of my eye and blend it into my crease area. And I've done my little half cut crease type of situation that I always do. And I'm going to continue to work with this shade right here. This shade is called Deep Velvet. And I am going to use a little bit more of this color to soften up the edges of where I have applied my P. Louise eyeshadow base to carve out the lid. So you guys have seen me do this over and over again. So the interesting thing about this though is that I've only used 2 colors out of this palette so far. That's been this color right here, which is called Sextrovert. I used that on my brow bone. And I've used this shade right here, which is Deep Velvet. So yeah, I've used Deep Velvet for my transition shade and for my crease shade. And I'm still using this shade to blend out my concealer. So we're just going to keep working with this one shade for right now. And now I'm going to use this shade right here. This shade is called Ritualistic, and I am going to apply this to the remaining areas of my lid where the concealer is exposed here. So this is a shimmer shade, and I'm going to use my Morphe M706 to apply this shadow. And now I'm going to use this shade right here, and this shade is called Sextrovert. Okay, wait a minute. I think I've gotten the names of these shades mixed up. So let's start all over again, just to summarize, to catch up just a little bit. For my brow bone highlight, I am using this shade right here. This shade is called Platinize. So that's the brow bone highlight. This shade is called Deep Velvet. This shade is my transition shade and also the shade that I'm using on the outer V and have swept it into my crease just a bit. Then we used this shade right here, which is called Ritualistic. This is the shade that I have on my lid right now. And now we're going to marry the Deep Velvet and the Ritualistic together using Sextrovert, which is this shade right here. Sorry for the confusion. And now I'm going back to this shade right here again. This is the Deep Velvet, and I'm going to use my Sigma E36 brush, and I'm going to use just a little bit more of this Deep Velvet with this small blending brush, and I am going to use this just to add a little bit more definition into the area where I've had to manipulate my natural crease line. I want to make sure that I don't lose this shade on my outer edges here. So I'm just going to build this up a little bit more while I'm here. I've added my liner and my lashes, and I've also done a little color correcting. So I used my Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer in SX14 around my mouth. That's a staple color correcting item in my makeup routine. And I also used the Tatcha Pearl in the shade Candlelight under my eyes. That too is also a staple product when it comes to color correcting for me. And today for my concealer, I am going to use the PatMcGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer Corrector. And I'm using the shade 20 in this concealer. Ooh, this is looking really red on me. A little bit too warm, not enough yellow, but we'll see what happens to this once I actually get it blended in and start to work with it a little bit more. This is looking to be pretty full coverage, or some good coverage, I should say. And now I'm going to use the PatMcGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. And this is really unique to me because it calls out specifically that it's under eye. It's not just saying, okay, this is a translucent setting powder. It's specifically calling out this under eye area. So I'm excited about that, and I am really anxious to try this out. At first glance, this powder looks to be very, very light. So we're going to go ahead and apply this to all the areas where I have applied the concealer. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this powder that I'm using, this is in the shade Medium. This looks really nice. I'm going to go ahead and apply it in all the areas where I have applied this concealer. And I'm doing some cream contouring using my Tarte Clay Foundation Stick. This is in the shade Rich Honey. This is a staple item for cream contouring. However, I think that I might pick up another one of the PatMcGrath Labs concealers, maybe in an even darker shade, so that way I can use it to do some cream contouring, because I'm really liking the way the highlighter shade under my eye, down the bridge of my nose, Cupid's bow. I'm really liking how this shade is looking, and that's in the shade 20 once again. It's in the shade 20. But when all else fails, my Tarte Clay Foundation Stick gets the job done. This is looking pretty good. I'm going to apply my foundation. My foundation has been applied, and I used my MAC Face and Body Foundation, and this is in the shade C7. So this is what I'm using for my foundation today. And I am going to go ahead and set this foundation with my PatMcGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Setting Powder. This is in medium 3. And to look at this powder, it looks very, very yellow. Even orange almost. But we're going to use this to set this foundation. I am going to be applying some powder bronzer, blush, and highlight. So I'm going to go ahead and set my face. This powder comes with the little sifter, or like a little net that's in the actual container here. And I think that that's designed to help with spillage so it doesn't go all over the place. It also helps to control how much powder comes out at one time. And now I'm going to use my Sephora Pro Face Palette, and I'm going to use this shade right here to warm up my face just a little bit more. And I'm going to use this shade right here. This shade is called Premier, and I'm going to use this as my blush. And I'm going to use this shade right here. This shade is called LA, and I'm going to use this for my highlighter. And now I'm going back to the Subliminal Platinum Bronze palette from PatMcGrath Labs, and I am going to use this shade right here again. This has been my friend throughout this whole entire look, and I'm going to use this shade to smoke out my waterline. Also, I want to mention that I did not line my eyes with the typical black eyeliner, if you guys haven't noticed. I'm actually using a gel eyeliner from Inglot, and it's in the shade 94, and it's a really pretty gold shade, so I've used that to line my eyes today. And yeah, I'm going to go back into Deep Velvet and get these eyes smoked out. And for my inner corner highlight, I'm going to go back to this shade right here. This shade is called Plat Eyes, and it's the same shade that I used as my brow bone highlight. So yeah, I'm going to use this shade as my inner corner highlight. I'm lining and filling in my lips with my MAC lip pencil. It's in the shade Night Moth. And I'm going to follow up with a Morphe lip gloss. This is in the shade Mesmerized. And this look is done. The PatMcGrath Labs Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze palette is a beautiful cool tone palette. It's a 6-pan palette, and you can pick this palette up on the PatMcGrath website for $65. If you don't have this palette in your collection as of yet and you are a PatMcGrath stan, I would say that this is definitely one that you would want to have in your collection. The Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer. I love this concealer. I am in the shade M20. You can pick this concealer up for $32 on the PatMcGrath website. I also like the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Setting Powder. This powder is in the shade Medium 3, and you can pick this powder up on the PatMcGrath Labs website for $55. And I think I may have a new favorite under eye setting powder, and that is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Under Eye Blurring Powder from PatMcGrath Labs. This powder is everything. I love this powder, and you can pick this powder up on the PatMcGrath website for $30. I hope you guys liked this video. And if you did, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on my next video. Bye-bye.